Hello, listeners. Welcome to the Evil Twin episode of the Avocado Games Cast. I'm Merve. Today we're going to talk about the embarrassment of gaming riches that 2017 has brought us. We're going to discuss the games we've played this year and how they fit into the larger picture of the gaming industry. We're also bringing back a special segment that we haven't seen in a while, the Trivia Challenge. So, make sure to get your buzzers ready, because you're going to be playing along at home. But before all of that, let's meet the folks who are joining me today. First up, he spent thousands of dollars on Candy Crush Saga, and he still hasn't beaten the first level. It's the Radio Dog.
Yeah!
Next, he thinks big rigs over the road racing is the medium's greatest artistic accomplishment. Its science is good.
Okay, campers, rise and shine, and don't forget your booties, cause it's cold out there today.
So cold that, in fact, the other person who's supposed to join us today, windmill owner, died of hypothermia.
R.I.P.
Yeah, R.I.P. windmill.
Groundhog Day.
Yeah, he was not evil enough for us.
Yes. And
Also,
we
we
repeating
sabotaged
a
his
little bit.
Skype account, his microphone, and his internet.
Yes.
So he
I
can't
don't
be
think
here.
he exists anymore.
You don't want to say that on something that's going to be made public. That's how we start. That's how you start a homicide investigation.
Oh, Your Honor. I assure you, I'm in a different country than he is. Although we are closer than Merv and Radio Cat are to him.
Yeah, you're
Shit.
closer to him. I'm in the same country as Radio Cat. You are
Oh,
probably geographically
man.
closer to him.
The burden of, innocent until proven guilty. That's what I say.
Yeah, so much for vigilante justice, man. So how are you guys doing?
All right.
It's great. It's great. I've been watching a lot of Simpsons and playing video games this weekend, so I'm ready. I'm good.
You sound like somebody who spends a lot of time on the AV Club, Simpsons and video games. Yeah.
Oh well. Surprising.
Who would have guessed?
Yeah, I don't.
Weird.
Yeah, weird that a bunch of AV Club commenters are, making a podcast.
Simpson heads.
Yeah.
Just mad Simpson heads, man.
Who got all these Simpsons fans together? So today, I guess what we wanted to talk about was
Other than
2017.
Heat fans.
Pardon me?
Yeah. No. Just continue. Yes.
Am I being bad-mouthed under someone else's breath?
No. Continue.
I'm such a
please.
taskmaster, apparently. So today what we wanted to talk about was 2017. I know it seems odd to talk about the year so early in the year, with the first quarter just having ended. At least by the time you hear this. By the time we're recording this, we're still in the first quarter of 2017. So the reason we wanted to talk about 2017 so far is that it's been a pretty amazing year for video games. In the first quarter of 2017, we've probably had more worthwhile games to play than in the entirety of 2015. There's been such a deluge of new, amazing, exciting games. And this is interesting, because normally you don't see all that many games in one go. And we're wondering, is this the new normal in the industry? Is this just a fluke? Is it because developers have finally figured out this gen and now we're just going to see great games being churned out regularly? So we're going to try to figure that out. And the way we're going to try to figure that out is we're going to talk about the games that we've played so far this year and what commonalities they might have and what they might indicate for broader industry trends. So you guys ready to talk about some recent games you've been playing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I did like your Kool-Aid man. Oh yeah, like the
Was pretty good. I thought somebody busted through my wall and wanted me to drink Kool-Aid, but it was Radio Cat's on.
He did do the international wall bust move, which is a thing you
Someone
can do now.
did blast through my wall though, so I'll have to take care of that in a couple of hours. So
It's just like a Terminator is
no, it
standing
was James Bond. It was James
James
Bond.
Bond.
Bastard.
So I guess we should explain that we had a previous aborted attempt at recording this where we made a lot of James Bond jokes. Um, we
Maybe
decided
it's
that James
better than-
Bond. We decided that James Bond was the evil twin, and
Yeah,
that
I
the
think
good
so.
James Bond was somewhere out there.
Yeah, and that's not the James Bond that is coming after me right now. So
Yeah, it's the evil James
we'll
Bond.
see how that goes.
This is probably a bad move to name both of the twins James.
Yeah, it's hard to tell apart.
One is Bond, the other is Bond from backwards. So,
Dnob.
Dnob. It's Dnob.
Oh, so this is like an Asian name where the given name comes second. So the family name is
Oh.
James.
That would be cool if the second James Bond was Asian and was good, and he was actually trying to help people that James Bond is trying to murder. So I basically have the rights to the new James Bond movie. Thank you, I'm a millionaire now.
Yeah, so
If it's
until
on the podcast,
that money
it's-
actually lands in your bank account, you're gonna have to earn
Yeah.
your keep talking about video games, though.
Fantastic, I love it.
So I know that this year you've played quite a few game signs, right? You've played Torment, Tides of Numenera. So that's sort of the new game from that's a spiritual successor to Planescape. And how's that been working out for you?
It's fine. It's one of those games, one of those like CRPGs, top-down view. It's a lot of dialogue, a lot of story. The question that everyone was asking for a while is how does it compare to the original Planescape, which I'm a big fan of. I think it's one of my top games that I've ever played. I think it's very creative because basically it's not set in the same world as Planescape Torment. It's set in Numenera, which is basically Earth, but way into the future, like millions of years into the future, where multiple civilizations have risen and fallen, and the Earth is left with a bunch of junk from previous civilizations, just like that's indiscriminate. That's basically looks like magic for everyone that's still left on Earth that was reduced to like medieval era technology. Everybody's like on medieval era understanding of world and technology, but they have all these magical, incredible artifacts left behind, and that's a very interesting concept. And they play with that a bunch. And to tie things to Planescape, you're basically something of in original Planescape, you were kind of like an immortal being that was whenever he was dying, he was assuming a new identity. It's a little bit similar to what's happening here, because you're a reject of someone called the Changing God, which is basically a guy that's prolonging his life by putting his consciousness in new bodies. Every time he just spends a little too much time in one body, he just switches to the next one. And the previous body, instead of just dying, just becomes conscious. So basically, he's creating life in a way. So you're one of those rejects, and that's also an interesting, fun thing. And you basically meet a lot of these other rejects that were also home to consciousness of this changing god. So the story is really interesting. The world is really interesting. So I'm enjoying all of that. I haven't completed it yet because it's a long game and there's a lot to read. There's a lot of reading in this game.
I've heard it's almost like a novel in terms of the amount of text.
Yes, the amount of text is like insane. No other game I think in history has this amount of text. So there's a bunch, and the bad thing about it, the one thing I didn't quite like as much is that the system for fighting is basically just very simplified and almost non-existent, and not very tactical. And it's not pleasant to engage in battle very much. But
I've heard you can practically talk your way through the entire game.
Yes, that's true, and that's the fun part of it. So the combat is not, it's not the main thing here. So it's not too bothersome, but I don't know. And there's also some aspects of checks, like in RPGs. When you check if you can do something, there's a percentage, like in Fallout, like perception or something, or like talking through a conversation, you have like 70% of doing something. And you can basically save scum through that, and that's I don't know how I feel about that. I don't use it.
The checks are stochastic, so getting a higher level gives you a greater chance of passing the check.
Yeah, and you can also, there's not a route, like kind of like when some games are doing like things to, I'm not quite sure, save games, where you can even if you load the previous save, if you do the check again, it will always be the same same thing happens, right? The outcome, yeah. And here you can basically load up and do the check again, and you may succeed, so you can save scum a little bit. So that's kind of a bummer. I would prefer it for like, oh no, you just fucked up, deal with it. So, but apart from that, it's a very good game. It has interesting characters. I'm enjoying it very much. It's obvious that some of the same people that worked on some of those old games worked on this one. So I'm happy with it. I'm happy. If you like Planescape Torment, I think you'd find yourself enjoying this game. So thumbs up for that one.
So it seems like it's very much in the mold of some of the throwback RPGs like Pillars of Eternity, Divinity Original Sin that have been released over the past couple of years. Would you say that's similar to those games, or do you think it's taking some more modern inspirations?
No, it's very similar to those games, but in those games, they're very combat heavy. In this game, I've had like, I'm not entirely avoiding encounters, but I have like 4. I'm like 20 hours into the game, and I had like 4 fights. So it's very, very sparse when it comes to combat. Whereas in Pillars of Eternity, I think in the first hour you have like 4 combat encounters. So, and the same in Divinity, even more so in Divinity. Divinity is basically way more combat heavy. Yeah. But Divinity is the most modern out of all of those, I think. All of the Torment and the Pillars of Eternity, I think, are more nostalgia play than anything else. They bank on nostalgia very heavily. Like, oh, remember those old games? And they even have a very similar graphical engine going on. Like pre-rendered backgrounds, and so it's obvious that they're targeting that crowd. Which is, if you're making a successor to Planescape Torment, you're not going to like revolutionize any of the important part of that game were dialogue and story. So you don't have to revolutionize the way it looks or the combat system or anything like that. So
yeah,
I'm cool with
that's
that.
Understandable. When you've got like the only one of those I've played is Pillars, and I kind of bounced off of it because, well, the combat didn't really work for me.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the combat had way too many ridiculous difficulty spikes. Like most encounters would be super easy, and then I just hit a wall and not be able to get past a combat encounter without like 20 or 30 tries. And this is on the easiest difficulty setting before they patched in an even easier one.
Yeah.
So I just thought the difficulty spikes were just all over the map.
Yeah. That's very like, that's pretty much in line with all of those games. In Baldur's Gate, you could also like kind of encounter something like way out of your, even if it seems like you should be going somewhere, the combat gets really tough sometimes. So
this is like the main quest. So I had it was really bizarre. Like this was intentionally too hard.
Yeah. I think they expected some like people that know these systems because are familiar with Baldur's Gate and like how to play tactically like that, because it's a like its own system. You have to be kind of familiar with the original a little bit, because they don't give you much of a tutorial how to handle things on your own, I think.
One of the things I noticed is that they have like modern RPGs will have like 4 or 5 different status effects. This game is like 20, and at certain points, like, well, what do these 20 different status effects even add to the game?
Yeah, it's kind of bizarre that they didn't kind of do something about that, because most of those don't matter. I think Numenera actually kind of tries to alleviate some of those problems, kind of like say, okay, we understand what you're saying. All of that is not very important, because there's like 4 statuses, and a fun thing that it's not really so robust with abilities, so you don't have to think about that a whole lot. And you have these things called the ciphers, which you just like use once and they're used up, and they're like some like temporary superpowers. So that's you don't have to think about all the breadth of the possibilities that you have at your fingertips. It's just like 4 things you can do, and you're either going to get through this encounter or not. It's very simplified, as I said. The combat is it's not it's there just to have conflict there, in the means of, oh, you want to get through this game with violence. We have that.
It's not like I need it to be dumbed down, but I think there's sometimes a tendency towards unnecessary complexity. Like, just because you can put something in doesn't mean you shouldn't. And there's still a lot of strategizing to be had with, just pare down the number of effects and elemental damages to half, and it's still pretty interesting.
Sorry. One more thing. Having said that, apropos, I have encountered a battle that I was absolutely nowhere near winning. Like, it was like way beyond anything I've encountered up to that point in the game, and decided to just sidestep it and go through the Toki Toki part, because I had not seen any possible way of winning that battle. So, that problem still exists even in this game.
Yeah, I guess even if you kind of try to make non-combat a possibility, sometimes in fact, it might cut the other way, and you might make combat super hard.
Because I didn't trade, I didn't buy the equipment. Yeah, I didn't do all that. So encountering a tough enemy this far in the game, when I didn't actually do a lot of combat by choice, some of it, that kind of screwed me. But I'm good with talking with that game, so like I have high intelligence skills, so like I'm persuading people to do things, so that's okay, that's fine. As I said, I'm playing it for the story, so I'm not.
You're not super concerned with combat.
Yeah.
So it's interesting we got this big throwback RPG this year. They were super popular a couple of years ago. For the most part, there's been a lot of really high-profile modern RPGs released this year, including Nioh or Nioh, I'm not sure how you say that, Legend of Zelda, the new Legend of Zelda game on the new Nintendo Switch console, Horizon Zero Dawn, NieR Automata, Mass Effect Andromeda. There have been a lot of big RPGs this year, and if one tried to play them all, one would probably not have time for doing anything else. So I guess some of us have played. We've pretty much between us covered all of them except for, I guess, Mass Effect. But we talked about that at length on the last episode. So, Radio, I understand you've played Horizon Zero Dawn, which is among the first of these to release. How is that?
I have
for you.
I'm loving it. I put it off until after I had played Zelda, because I knew Zelda would take my time, but this is definitely another beast. Like, they're both such huge open world games, but this is, first of all, it's gorgeous. It's one of the most beautiful games I've ever played, I think. I don't know, like, just the design of the creatures and stuff, because for those who are unaware, the game is oddly enough somewhat similar to what Science was saying with ancient civilization that had like fallen and crumbled, and then all these leftover remnants, but the civilizations are more medieval style or
tribal.
Tribal, exactly. And I just am making my way through it. It's a lot. It was more RPG-ish than I thought. I don't know what I was expecting, but they do a good job of making enemies be formidable, regardless of like how high a level you get. You still need to think before you just run into combat, which I enjoy.
Yeah, it seems like you do have to have your wits about you when you play that game. It's interesting because people recently there's been a lot of talk of people sort of burning out on open world games, but Horizon Zero Dawn and Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild both came out this year, and people really appreciate their open world environments and praise them for doing something with their open world. Do you think that this is sort of fluke, or do you think they've learned from previous sort of empty open world Ubisoft type experiences? Do you think that Do you think that this is sort of an improvement on the typical open world genre?
I would say so. They do a good job of balancing having a lot of things on the map, but not having it be too much of a chore or like being overwhelming. Like, yes, there are those climbing puzzles that you use to uncover parts of the map, but they're interesting in how they work, and I feel like also there's fewer of them than, say, Far Cry, which there's like radio towers everywhere that you need to climb up.
I have a question about Horizon. Is there much like fetch questy things in that game, like collect this, collect that, craft this, craft that? It's like a because Ubisoft open world games are full of that MMO style quests of collecting things. Is that in that game?
There's definitely a degree of that. You do need to craft larger pouches and stuff to hold more resources, which it's actually not too difficult. They do a good job of pretty much letting you cater to how you want to play. Like once you get past the first like tutorial-ish section, you can kind of just, oh, well, I'm obviously collecting a lot of resources. Most of the things you need to craft what you want are relatively easy to access if you're willing to like go and find them. It doesn't feel too tedious, and like fetch quest wise, they do a good job of kind of balancing like, oh, go get this part from a robot, as opposed to like, oh, this is like more of a story driven like type of thing.
Okay. Okay, so you don't feel like you're overwhelmed by all of the little systems that usually when I'm playing a Far Cry game or something like that, I get kind of bored because I'm overwhelmed by everything they are throwing at me.
Yeah, at first, like they do a good job of easing you into it, and then like they just have some of the crafting and stuff. They just make it really easy and accessible. Like crafting ammo for your weapons, you just pull up the weapon wheel, which slows time anyways, and then you can hold X on the weapon and the ammo type, and it'll craft that automatically if you have the resources already.
Oh, cool. That's
so
good.
it's easy to reload on the fly and like not miss a beat. And it definitely. I'm not in the menu as much as I would think for that type of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's nice to see a game maintain sort of the complexity of your typical RPG, but cut down a lot of the tedium. I think designers could take more cues from something like that.
Yeah. Have you completed it?
I have not. I'm not even sure how close I am. I've uncovered a good chunk of the map, but I'm still like, because I'm doing all these side quests, I'm kind of like over leveled for the main quest, and I don't know how much further I have in that.
And how do you are you enjoying the main quest? Is there a good story or anything?
Oh yeah, I meant to talk about that. The story has actually been a lot more interesting than I thought it would be.
Cool.
There's a couple twists that they've done early on that I was like, oh, this is a different type of game than I thought it was going to be, period. And I'm also interested to see how it plays out, because apparently it's supposed to be the first in a trilogy. And
really?
Yeah, apparently this is like game one, and then they're planning a trilogy. So I hope they can pull it off and actually have a satisfying conclusion while still kind of setting it up, because I always worry that it's just going to be the end is going to be kind of like, oh, we're setting it up for the real thing next time.
Yeah, the Halo 2 of
Exactly.
yeah. Well, we'll see. It's kind of disappointing that they are trying to make another franchise out of it. I mean, it's obvious, right? Like everything.
I mean, it sold super well, so they weren't going to make a franchise out of it.
Yeah,
they will now.
Yeah, but I like very games that just like close. When you finish them up, that everything, every plot closes, and everything like resolves in a neat way. But that a franchise can be good if the second one is inventive enough and different enough.
Yeah, and I think that this is like an interesting enough new IP that I'd be curious to see what else they can do with that world, at least
cool
for now.
Yeah. Do you think they'll call the sequel Horizon Zero Dawn 2 or Horizon 1 Dawn?
Probably
we have one Dawn.
Who knows?
We had 0 Dawns. Now it's the first one. It would be Horizon Dawn 01. I don't know. They'll probably mess it up somehow.
I mean, Nintendo didn't call Splatoon 2 Splatoon with a 2 or the
Oh,
TOO.
God, right?
That would be good, though.
Yeah, so I'm never going to buy anything Nintendo ever because they fucked that up that badly.
Unless they fix this horrible mistake they've made. Nintendo, please correct the sins that you have committed. Splatoon, please.
Yeah, we really need to start a petition. Should write to Nintendo.
We need to.
Maybe they'll fire somebody. So, speaking of Nintendo and open world games, I guess both of you have also played Breath of the Wild, correct?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, have you both completed it, or?
I completed it. Yeah.
I'm mostly done. I'm finishing up some loose ends before I do the final kind of mission.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you've both played it substantially. So again, it being one of the big RPGs that has released this year, do you feel that it's similar to Horizon Zero Dawn in the way it approaches the open world, or is this something different?
Yeah, that's a question to the Radio Cat because I haven't played both of those.
Yeah, I mean, as like it, just the way that you traverse the landscape is completely different, and that's something that I've had to adapt to in Horizon Zero Dawn as opposed to Legend of Zelda, because Legend of Zelda, you are free to go anywhere. You can climb like any surface and just traverse this giant world, and Horizon Zero Dawn, you can't climb things. So unless you can jump up a little ledge, you're kind of forced to go around these giant mountains and stuff. So it definitely affects like how you have to think your travel out and stuff. And on top of that, I feel like it also, at least in Zelda, it makes the world seem just so much larger and just intimidating because I can actually go there, as opposed to if I'm in Horizon Zero Dawn, I see the peak of the mountain. It's like, I probably won't ever go there.
Yeah. I really like that in Zelda, that they seem to not restrict you at all when it comes to that kind of thing. Like, okay, you can actually go wherever you like, basically. Like, when
no invisible walls, right?
Yeah. When a couple of years, they said, like, oh, you see that mountaintop, you can go there. Like, I thought, oh, well, Skyrim did that in 2011. Like, what are you doing, Nintendo? That's like old news. But where Skyrim really limited and how you traverse the world, Zelda actually, you can actually go on top of that weird mountain and probably there's probably going to be something cool on that mountain. From my
at least a Korok seed.
Yeah,
which
or a
I've
nice
been
little puzzle.
Led to believe is just dried poo.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah,
that's
maybe.
what I've heard.
I think so, but let's not. Well, it's not their children though. Like, it's seed of the Koroks, like so Koroks like
So
grow
you're saying
from
it's sperm, or
yeah, I think you're collecting
seed
sperm
of-
and then giving it the sperm to this big guy that puts them in maracas. It's crazy, But coming back to, it's maybe just a Korok seed, but that's in the most, like, when you climb a tower, it's more interesting than in a Ubisoft game, that's for sure. Like, I've heard some people saying, "Oh, climbing towers like in Ubisoft games," bleh. But like, I've read that on there was this whole thing about Jim Sterling's review and people DDoSing his site and bullshit like that, and I hate that stuff. So I
As you
think
should.
that yes, I think he made a perfectly good argument about everything in that game. It wasn't, he still liked it, but it wasn't like, oh, the exceptional experience like everyone else. That's fine. But like, I didn't agree with him in one point. Well, in 2 points, but in one point I didn't agree with him when he criticized like climbing these towers like in Ubisoft games. Oh, there's Ubisoft towers in this game. I'm like, no, not exactly, because these are fun. And Ubisoft towers are absolutely like antithesis of fun. Like, when I'm climbing a Ubisoft tower, I'm like, oh, let's just get this over with. And when I'm climbing a Zelda tower, I'm like, oh, cool. Now I can look through my telescope and see the places I could go. And I see a weird, like a lake that has a weird thing in the middle of it. I check that. So I'm going to go there a little bit later. I see a weird, like a mountain that's shaped like a spiral. There has to be something there. I see a weird labyrinth in the distance. Like, you bet your ass I'm going to go there. And you just like check those things on, like, through your telescope. They tick on your map as waypoints, and you just like make mental notes. Okay, now I'm gonna go here because there was this cool thing that looked cool from that tower here, and it's fun. The exploration is actually really fun because all those cool things that look really cool from that tower actually have things there, and the cooler the place looks, the cooler probably the thing is in that place. Like, it's always rewarding you with like fun weapons that, of course, I've heard things about the destructibility of the weapons. Some people don't like that. I don't know about you, Radio Cat. How do you feel about destructibility of weapons in that game? Like,
I have mixed feelings about it, because when I get a really cool weapon, I want to use it, but then other times I want to save it for some like big baddie that I know is going to be tougher to take down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same here. When I get a really cool one, I usually leave it to use on like a big guy. But I'm surprised how much I kind of don't care sometimes. Like, the more I play, the more like the game has to have some kind of an algorithm where the more you play the game, the better like items you get from chests and are wielded by your enemies, so you get those from there. Like, you get a bunch of stuff that you wouldn't be able to get in like the first hour of the game. So I think there is some kind of an algorithm that keeps giving you better and better weapons. That's my experience. I don't know.
You need
think
that
so
treadmill
too.
in an RPG. Otherwise it's just you don't have any sense of progression.
Yeah, and it has hearts and it has stamina, which some people don't like. I actually really like stamina.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, I
Yeah.
think that the stamina is pretty neat, and it also lends to that fun that's climbing and stuff, because it's like, oh no, am I gonna make this? Or
Yes,
like, I need
exactly.
to find a ledge to stand on so I can recover and keep
And
climbing.
And
It
there
adds some
are
tension.
yes, tactics and tension to it. Yeah, and there are some ledges that are, I am absolutely sure they were designed to be there, that you could just rest for a second while you climb further.
Oh
up
yeah,
the-
100%.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's like the stamina thing is really fun. It's like, kind of, I was one of the people that climbed mountains with his horse in Skyrim because I was just trying to see if I could do it. And it's the same here. I'm like, okay, I have like 1.5 stamina bar because I leveled it up a little bit, and there's this big giant mountain, and I'm like, can I do it? Can I climb it? I'm gonna see. And it's fun to see if you could just do it. Yeah,
Well,
it's
yeah.
cool.
One of Skyrim's problems and Bethesda games in general is that they have a lot of invisible walls.
Yeah.
It seems like Breath of the Wild is the first open world game that really makes true on the promise of if you see it, you can go there.
Yeah, I think there's only like one area where you actually can't cheat, and it's like gated by the fact that when it's raining, you can't climb as well as you
Oh
could.
yeah.
Yeah, and they specifically design an area of that game with that in mind. Which I think is a fun thing to do because you have to go through this valley instead of climbing, and going through the valley is fun in that instance, and that's fun. But I really don't like the fact that when it's rainy you can't climb well.
Yeah.
It's
It's a
not
pain in
good.
the
Rocks are
ass.
slippery, man.
Yeah,
Rocks can
yeah,
get
I know,
slippery.
I know, but it just changes the game to not fun. That's the only thing. Like breakable weapons, like you could make an argument. Okay, it's detracting from some things, but it's still making game fun in the way that you have to think on your feet and you have to experiment and collect every weapon you can find, even if they're a little bit crappy, because you're gonna use all of them, and that's fun. But when it's
Yeah.
raining, it's only worse. You don't have any bonuses during the rain. You're just getting pissed off.
Well, what
Well,
about
okay,
lightning?
okay, yeah. But that's when the storm is. When it's only raining, you just it just sucks. But let me say this: there was this one little adventure I had during the rain that I had when I was in the labyrinth. That's not a spoiler. There are a couple of things on the map like that. Never mind. So I was in the labyrinth and it was raining and I couldn't scale the walls and I had to because I was stuck in this little alcove. So I actually went into this little cave that was nearby. I dropped some wood on the ground. I dropped some flint, and I made a fireplace. And I spent the night in a cave. And actually, kind of felt cool that I was kind of taking shelter from the rain. It felt like that.
Yeah.
It felt nice.
Yeah.
But
You
that
can
was
get moments like that in a
Yeah.
game with survival elements.
Yes, and that was fun. But I would trade that all away, that little experience from my brain, just so I could, God damn it, scale those walls while it's raining because it's pissing me off.
Yeah.
I think maybe if there had been or if there was gear that allowed you to do it or something, that would be
Yeah.
cool. Because that
Yeah,
would be at least a
notified.
way to solve that. And then,
yeah.
Yeah,
because I think that's something that they did a really good job at overall, though, was to give you all the tools you need, like relatively early on, and just be like, go, have at it.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
they work in the confines of open world. Like, oh, it's still Zelda. We're gonna have gonna give you some what I like about it is that everything that you need to solve these puzzles that are in the environment, because there are these shrines. If you don't know anything about this new Zelda, there are these shrines all over the map that are basically a bigger part of the game. Like I'd say 40% of the game are these shrines, if not more, where you collect points of, let's say, experience that you're going to use to upgrade yourself. And all of those shrines can be solved with the basic 4 powers you get at the beginning of the game. Is it 4? I think it's 4, right?
Is it 4 or 5?
4 or 5.
There's 2 bombs and then.
Oh yeah. There's 2 bombs, so 5. So you get all that in the first hour of the game, and then those powers you can use to solve all of those shrines. So if you get into a shrine, you don't have to have a specific gear for it. You just solve it with the power of your brain. So that's cool. I like that. I like that they didn't have to gate things based on your gear for most of it.
Yeah.
And what's cool though is that there tends to be multiple ways to solve those puzzles depending on the gear you have.
Yeah,
And
you can.
Oh,
You can always cheat a little bit if you have the right gear, but you don't have to, which is also fun. And there was this cool moment when I didn't do it myself. I did. Okay, so I did a little bit. This is going to be a slight spoiler to one of the 120 shrines that's on the map. So I don't think I'm spoiling too much here. But there's this one shrine where you have to use the either the Switch or the Wii Pad to manipulate this platform in which this marble is trying to get through this labyrinth. So it's like one of those little games when you're a kid that you're trying to free this marble from this labyrinth by operating it, and the gravity is making giving this marble it's making its way through the labyrinth, right? So it's hard and it takes some time and you can fuck up and you have to start from scratch. And what I did is when I fucked up and the ball was dropping from the ceiling to the start point, I twisted my Wii pad in a way that it landed in the place where it basically was the end of the course. So I just kind of manipulated my Wii pad so that I could finish it quicker, and that's cool.
Yeah.
But some people finished it even better. They turned their Wii pads upside down, and the ball landed on the flat surface of the puzzle, and they just kind of flung it with their Wii pad to the exit.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah. So
That's what I did.
yeah. So
Very
it seems like you guys have been enjoying Breath of the Wild a lot.
Yeah.
Would you say that it draws a lot from inspiration from some recent games, or do you think it's sort of coming up with a lot of its own ideas?
I think that it feels like Nintendo actually looked at other open world games and said we could do that better. Because you could see like a lot of bullshit in past Zelda games just like slowed the game to a crawl. And what modern open world games do is very often just throw you into the world, and let you explore more or less where you want. And Nintendo, I'm sure, looked at those games and said, yeah, but there's still a lot of crap there. We can make it even better. We can Nintendoify this open world concept when it's actually wherever you look, it's kind of like a neat little thing that you want to do. Like it's like Nintendo is very good at these little things that you kind of like they have this feel very well crafted. Like there's no like giant fields of nothing. There's not like when I'm playing Far Cry or something like that, or even Fallout or something like that. There's just huge tracts of land that there's some.
They don't serve any purpose, really.
Yes, there's some interesting architecture there, but maybe there's a quest on the map somewhere that brings you to this place, and then something happens. But in of itself, this place serves no purpose at all. And in this game, in Zelda, if you go there, if it's cool looking, if you go there, there's something cool there, and that's brilliant. I think they just they made a better exploration game than any of those open world games that I've played up to this point. So there's
it's not like they're directly lifting elements; it's that they're taking what already exists and they're iterating on it and improving it.
Yes, it's definitely the Nintendo way.
Yeah, and do you think we're going to see some of these elements make their way into other games down the line?
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's going to be. It's definitely, people are talking about it a lot, and I think we're going to see some of its elements make its way into other games. So Breath of the Wild wasn't the only big JRPG that was released this year. There's also Nioh and NieR Automata, which I think we're going to talk about a bit now. Persona 5 is
Nioh.
I've heard it called Nioh.
Nioh,
like the singer, like Nioh,
like Nioh, like
the guy from Matrix,
Yeah.
like the guy from Matrix, Nioh.
That's
Like
Nioh.
Matrix guy. Yeah.
Okay, Nioh. Yeah, I mean, also Persona 5 is on the way, but it's not out yet as of the time of this recording. So, Radio Cat, you've been playing Nioh, correct?
That I have.
Has been playing Nioh, not Nioh.
Nioh. He's been playing the knockoff version. So Nioh's interesting because I've heard that it's more, instead of drawing its inspiration more from the open world kind of genre of game, it's been drawing its inspiration more from the sort of interconnected areas approach of, say, Dark Souls, or less celebratedly King as Noveler.
Is it the Dark Souls of Japanese games?
It's it's interesting because they are it's mission based rather than open world. It's definitely got a different feel to it, but it still has that interconnected feel of like, oh, I'm wrapping around back here and I can finally open this gate that allows me to get to like the final boss, or I have to open this checkpoint so I can get there from the shrine type of thing. It's definitely a lot of content too, because they do the thing where they will reuse a map, but like readjust the enemy placement and give you a new goal, close off certain entrances and stuff. So kind of repurpose these maps into something different enough that it's worth replaying, but it's without a lot of extra work.
Okay. How similar is it to Dark Souls? Oh, by the way, people that are listening to it, I know Dark Souls is a Japanese game. You don't have to correct me on that. That was a joke. Okay, so how similar is it to Dark Souls?
It's combat-wise, it has a good level of difficulty, and the way that you move is very similar. There are certain things like I don't think that there's a fat roll. Or actually, no, there is, but it's not as in detail or as in depth, I guess, as Dark Souls. But something that is a pretty big difference is the multiple stances that you can take with your weapon. So there's like a light attack mode, a normal attack mode, and a heavy attack mode, and they all have their different speeds and movement strikes for the different weapons.
Okay,
so,
and every weapon has that ability?
Yes, yes. Huh? Every weapon has those 3 different movement modes for attacking. And so, yeah, there's a lot of different ways to play with it. And then as you advance and your character grows, you can actually get skills and bonuses for like switching between stances while you're fighting and get benefits from that sort of thing. Yeah, it's interesting.
Okay, are there any like multiplayer online things like there were in Dark Souls? On when people die, do they leave bloodstains or anything like that? Can you summon?
There are bloodstains, and so like you can go over to them and summon them and fight. It's like for the bloodstains, it's a you're summoning them to do some PvP sort of deal. But I'm pretty sure that it's just a copy like of their character, and then it's AI controlled.
Interesting. Like a drive.
So it's somewhat like NieR Automata in that regard.
Or like a drive-atar.
Is that from The Crew?
Yes.
So that was an Ubisoft open world game in cars that had towers.
Yeah.
What?
How do you drive up a tower? I don't
get
it.
You can do anything if you're Ubisoft. You can like say, okay, we're doing a car game with towers, and they were like, why not? We done everything else with towers. Now we can do the car game with towers.
That's bonkers.
It is.
Yeah.
So do you like Nioh? Are you enjoying?
Yeah. I actually took a big break on it because I got distracted. I'd like to go back. I think I just need to maybe push forward a little more because there's just so much content that I don't think I should waste all my time on these side quests. But you do get some good gear from there, and there's just a lot to collect. Like one of the collectibles you can do is you have a guardian spirit that is you can change. You can swap it out, and it's a different animal. So you can have like a shark that attacks and helps you fight when you use your special.
A shark?
Awesome!
Like a shark that's just flopping around on land and not drowning?
Yeah, it's like a shark that swims through the air.
Okay.
Yeah. And, like
the sound of this.
Yeah, you can have a bat guardian, and so like you collect these by doing some of these optional ones or just completing the story, and they have different.
That bat! I want a shark. Why would you change the shark to a bat?
Well, the shark doesn't provide as good benefits.
Don't matter. It's a shark.
But so like that's just another component that you can really dive into if you want to. You can kind of play it.
Dive into like a shark.
Womp womp.
Okay, so that's fun though.
Yeah.
Is it hard? Is it very hard?
It is difficult. I have definitely screamed a lot at it.
I never threw my controller in my life, I think. I screamed at a game. I called it a fucker, but I never threw a controller. I don't think so.
You need to throw more things. You need to just snap a controller in half.
I guess I have to throw a controller into my TV.
It's so relaxing.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to break my controller. Um, so yeah, it seems like you've been enjoying Nioh a lot. Similar sounding game, NieR Automata,
Hmm.
actually came out this year,
I
and
heard good things about that game.
yeah, so I was gonna talk about it a little bit because we're talking about big Japanese RPGs that have come out this year, and there have been quite a few of them. Um,
No spoilers, please, though.
yeah, I'm not gonna spoil any aspect of it, but yeah, it did come out this year, and um, it's been kind of a strange experience. So I'm going to try to speak about it in the least spoilery terms because this is a game that you really should play if you can.
I will.
Um, I will say
It's on
it's
the
probably
list.
not the best game I'll play this year. I mean, so
Hmm.
far it's the best game I've played this year, but it probably won't end up being the
Well,
best.
la di da. How can you? How can you even say that, man?
Well, let me finish what I'm saying.
Okay, okay,
It probably won't be the
okay.
best game I play this year, but I'll say it's probably going to be the most important game that I'll play this year,
Hmm.
and it's the one I'm most
Interesting.
likely to recommend to others.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Big
That's an interesting recommendation.
Yeah. So you know what I'd liken it to? I'd liken it to like Spec Ops: The Line in terms of this is a really
Ooh.
neat and important game that I think people should play. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if it's the best game ever that I've played in terms of mechanically or how it all hangs together, but what it's doing in the medium is really important and unique, and I think people should experience it.
Hmm.
So
It's by Platinum, right?
it is by Platinum. So this is interesting in that you think Platinum normally they make like hack and slash action type games. This is actually like a full fledged open world RPG. It doesn't have like the gigantic open world that you'd associate with say a Bethesda game, but it's a decently sized open world. There are quite a few RPG elements here, like you do level up. You do have to worry about what's in your inventory. There's buying and selling equipment, um, and all of that. But they have some unique spins on your typical RPG, uh, your typical RPG features. In that, instead of having skill trees, what they have instead is plug-in chips. And the way this works is you have a certain capacity of plug-in chips that you can plug into your character because your character is an android.
Mm-hmm.
And each of these plug-in chips confers different effects, like say increased health or auto heal or increased attack power or increased hacking power, stuff like that.
Right.
And you can basically customize these chip loadouts up to a certain capacity, and you can unlock more capacity by purchasing it. And you unlock new chips throughout the game so you can keep fiddling with your loadout. The other thing is you have, in terms of weapons, you can upgrade those over the course of the game. Then you have also a ranged weapon that you can also upgrade over the course of the game. And there's a whole bevy of ranged weapons that you can keep switching between. So if you want a laser that keeps firing in pulses, you could use that. If you want missiles, you also have a pod that does that. And then there are all sorts of other ranged weapons you can equip. So it is, a full-fledged action RPG. In terms of the actual combat, it's hack and slash with a mixture of ranged combat. So it's not going to be anything too different from what you saw in other Platinum games.
Right.
Perhaps the system's a little bit simpler because there's no real countering. Well, there is countering, but there's no blocking. The best you can do is evade and counter. If anything, I'd say the combat is most similar to. Do you guys play Enslaved?
Yeah.
Odyssey
No.
of the West? Okay. So, Enslaved is another game set in a post apocalyptic world.
Yeah. A lot
Um,
of those. A lot of those around.
yeah. Well, that's since been taken over by Greenery.
Yeah.
NieR reminded me a lot. NieR Automata, I should say, reminded me a lot of Enslaved in that regard, and that you have that hack and slash combat with some ranged weapons, and you're playing in a world that's been where Greenery has overtaken all these ruined buildings. So it is unique like that. So that's essentially the kind of game it is. where it doesn't sound terribly unique, but what it's doing narratively is really interesting. In that it's a little bit like the Stanley Parable or Consortium, in that you should play it multiple times
Yeah.
to see what happens.
I've heard some things about some endings. There are multiple endings from what I've
There are
heard.
multiple endings. You unlock. It's like in a lot of Japanese games where you beat it once and then you unlock a different route.
Yeah.
It works like that. So the second playthrough is significantly different from the first. I don't want to spoil in what way it's different, but there is a significant difference between the second and the first. I'm still on the second playthrough. I've heard the third is even more different. Yeah. And then there are other ways to unlock more endings. Yeah. This game also has a lot of joke endings, which I don't mind. I don't mind spoiling a couple because they're just jokes. So one of them, one of the characters wants to know what will happen if you eat a fish. You eat the fish and then you die. It's just an ending in the credits roll.
That's really good.
Another one, which is kind of unique, and mild spoilers here. Because you're an android, you have all these chips equipped on you, right? If you want to free up some chip capacity, you can uninstall elements of your heads-up display. So if you don't want radar, you can take that out to make room for another chip. You can also take out your operating system chip.
Oh, that's a bad idea.
And then you die.
Okay.
And the game ends.
Okay. Well,
and the credits roll.
Now that you spoiled two endings, I'm going to tell our listeners that they can file their complaints at avocadogamescast.wordpress.com. You can actually.
We actually do have a contact form there, so if somebody wanted to file complaints
about our horrible spoiler full episode of NieR Automata, I'm sorry. We're all sorry for Merve. He should.
Yeah, let me put it this way: I have not spoiled anything that I would consider significant.
Yeah,
this
I
game.
know. I'm just joking.
But yeah, it's definitely a game that I think you guys should try, and I'd recommend it even to people who normally don't play JRPGs, because it's extremely different from.
It's not. It's more like hack and slash kind of thing from what I've seen. It has some RPG elements, but it's like
I'd say it has more RPG elements than you might think it does. It's
okay.
very much more an RPG in feel than the trailers might have led you to believe.
Oh, interesting. I thought it was more like Bayonetta type thing. Like
no, it's a full-fledged RPG. I wouldn't say it's like
interesting.
I wouldn't say it's got as many RPG elements as the other games we've talked about today. It's not like Horizon Zero Dawn or Breath of the Wild. But if we want to call, I don't know, Mass Effect 3 an RPG, then this is even more of an RPG.
Okay. Cool.
Huh.
Yeah.
I will play it. Definitely.
Yeah, I definitely want to check it out. I keep hearing great things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's gotten a lot of people. I've recommended it to people who haven't played these kinds of games normally, and they've been really into it. So that's heartening to hear. So we've talked about, I guess, a lot of big games that came out this year, and a lot of Japanese RPGs. Persona 5's on the way too, and I'm sure we'll talk about that at some point in the future.
I regretfully pre-ordered it. I never pre-order stuff because I think that's a shitty tactic to do that.
But you don't yet know if you're going to regret it. You'll have to.
Yeah, I think I'm not gonna regret it either way. If it's not even gonna be super great, I would still totally buy that game. And Atlus games never go on sale, so I think I'm good.
Yeah, I'm sure it's been getting good reviews across the board. I have some reservations about it, but I'll see if those melt away when I play the game. And we can get into what those reservations are on another episode.
Yeah.
So some smaller titles have also come out this year, and we've been talking about big games because it's been a big year for major titles. But there have also been some significant smaller titles that have come out this year, and I understand, Radio Cat, you've had some experience with 1-2-Switch.
I have. I picked up a Switch on release day because I'm a Nintendo fanboy. I know.
Have you played The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild on the Switch?
You know what? I have.
Oh,
It's
interesting. Tell me, does it have like slowdown and stuff like that, or is it just on my
uh,
Wii U?
you know what? I would say that there's significantly less slowdown when I'm in tablet mode than when I'm in like on the TV. I
That's
think
crazy.
because it's going from the 1080p
Right.
to 720.
Right now, does it have like aliasing? Because I have huge aliasing problems on the Wii U. Like,
I haven't really noticed
huh,
much. Yeah.
interesting. It has to
Yeah.
be lower resolution for the Wii U, and it still kind of chugs. Okay, well,
Yeah.
resume with your one to Switch talk. Sorry.
No problem. No, yeah. And then since I had a Switch and I was like, oh, I need more games for this. I
Yeah,
saw
yeah, you do.
I saw the 1-2 Switch and I magically had a gift card that was the same amount for that price. So I picked it up and it's interesting. It's a good tech demo type of deal. It really showcases a lot of the features of the Switch.
Sort of like
I
WarioWare in that regard,
almost,
or is it more
yeah.
like Nintendo Land?
Now, from what
Or
I've heard,
WarioWare.
people are telling me that it should have been a backend. Do you agree with that?
I do agree with that. I literally have that written down here that
Yeah.
it it definitely could have been packaged in but even if it wasn't, maybe like as a $20 game or something, but to ask for like full price for that,
And it's full price?
it's $50.
Holy shit. Well, that's still not $60, but it's
Yeah, it's
still
not 60,
not.
but it's a little thin for that. There's a decent amount of games, and I could see it like I'm excited to have an opportunity to take it to like a family gathering or something and
Oh,
be
yeah.
like, hey guys,
Mhm.
check this out, because I've played it with some friends and stuff, like with some beers, and it's just like it's a riot. It's a good time, and
Oh, yeah.
people, it's very easy to pick up and play. Like it does a good job of explaining the games
Mhm.
simply and like making it entertaining for people to watch and play.
Yeah, from what I've seen on the YouTube and other such sites, actually just YouTube, it looks kind of like it could be a good party game. Like, yeah, just take and play with your buddies or your family, and you have a good time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it feels like I don't know why they didn't do what they did with say Captain Toad, where they sold it. I think Captain Toad retailed for like $30.
Yeah.
I think they should have done that. I
Yeah.
think that would have made it a little more palatable. Because if you're
Mm.
trying to convince people that something is worth extra money, I think you've already lost the battle.
But I
Uh,
think Captain Toad came out after Super Mario World on the no, not Super Mario World. I don't remember the name of the game that came on Nintendo Wii U.
Super Mario
Super
3D
Mario
World.
3D World.
Yeah, Super Mario 3D World. It came after that, so it couldn't have been. Well, maybe it could have been a pack-in with a new batch of Wii U's, but who would buy a Wii U after that? Come on. Nobody was buying Wii U's at that point. I was buying a Wii U at that point because it was cheap. That's the
Yeah.
only. Yeah.
But
Man, Wii U.
yeah, like I think it's a good showcase. Like there's the one game with the where you have to rotate your controller and you can feel like how many balls are in the controller. Like
Ooh, tell me more.
Tell me more about balls.
well, it's theoretically it's like a wooden container and there are a set number between like 1 and 6 or something metal
Whoa,
in the
that's too many
container.
balls.
So you rotate it around, and based on the vibration, it feels like there's actually balls
Mm.
rolling around in the
Mhm.
controller. and I gotta tell you, it's spooky. Like it creeps me out because
Oh, it actually works.
it actually works really well.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting. Cool. Do you have a Wii U? That's my.
I do.
question. How do you compare your Switch experience to the Wii U? Like, do you think like there's more potential there in what the Wii U had to offer? Like with the 1-2 Switch, you kind of like see the trailer, let's say, for the tech available. So I'm not quite sure if. Yeah.
I think that the Switch is gonna be good because I honestly I do enjoy the take it away, like just that I can like lay in bed and play like some Zelda, collect some shrines before I go to sleep and stuff at the end of the night. I'm definitely playing it a lot more than I almost ever have my Wii U.
Yeah. Cool.
It's-
And compared to the 3DS, do you have a 3DS?
I do have a 3DS
Okay.
as well.
So do you
And-
think that all of the 3DS titles will soon be coming out on Switch?
I mean, I could
I
see
mean, they
them.
should, right?
Yeah.
Probably. I'm not quite sure if they'll pull the trigger and say, okay, now we're just putting everything on the Switch.
Yeah, I feel like that's what they're trying to do, but they don't want to so quickly like put all their chips in on that.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
When will Splatoon come out on this?
Oh,
this
This summer, right?
Yeah, I actually played the global test fire on Friday
cool.
night.
Oh,
So,
how was it?
Yeah, it was cool. It actually got me kind of excited for it. It played really well on both like TV mode and mobile mode.
Cool.
It looked great. Like the weapons all work well. The gyroscope aiming still works pretty great. I'm interested to see how it comes out.
Yeah, I really liked the first one, and they were really supporting that for a long while, and it was really popular. So
Yeah, that's one of those games that like you want to adopt early because they do like support it, and it kind of eases you in as they keep releasing more like materials for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have they implemented any significant changes from the first one?
Not really that I've noticed so far. I didn't spend a whole lot of time with the first one. But
I spent a whole lot of time with the first one, but I couldn't tell you.
Like, because there was only 4 weapon choices, and the maps were like, it was 2 different maps, and I only got in for an hour because the windows on those plus test fires are short.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, so there's, I guess, one more game that we wanted to talk about that there's also another
Yakuza
smaller title.
Zero. Yakuza 0, the last game. No, wait. We missed Yakuza 0. We didn't talk about it.
Oh, I was just going to ignore Yakuza 0 entirely because we talked about it in previous episodes. We can also talk about Yakuza 0. But before we get to Yakuza 0, let's talk about Night in the Woods.
Okay.
Which I think both Science and I have played, correct?
Yes.
Have you completed it?
I am on my second playthrough right now.
Oh, second playthrough.
Yes.
I've only done one playthrough of it. So this is, for those not in the know, it's sort of a point and click event. Not really a point and click. It's a walk around kind of adventure game. It's a 2D.
Yeah, it's a 2D going home more or less with talking to people. So
Yeah, imagine it's a 2D game with the mechanics of going home, but the tone of life is strange.
Yes.
Sort of.
Yes. That's more or less. And probably the best art I've seen in a video game in a long time.
Oh my gosh, that art is amazing.
Yes.
So everything looks sort of like, without really the papercraft aesthetic, everything looks like construction paper cutouts, and all the characters are anthropomorphized animals.
And they're super cute. Everything in this game is super cute.
And the animations are absolutely gorgeous.
Yes.
The characters don't really move their mouths all that much, but their eyes are super expressive.
Yeah, they're very expressive. And
they've done a
one
really
of the
good job with
characters
the eyes.
has these noodly arms that I just love. He just swings those noodly arms around, and I love it.
Yeah, that character's name is Greg, and
Yes,
I believe he's a
Greg.
dog or a fox.
I think
Yeah.
Fox, yeah.
Yeah, and he's just always like moving his arms like a total nut.
Yeah.
Not entirely clear on how relationships work in this world. It's the same problem I have with Arthur, where somebody's parents are both cats, but Greg and his boyfriend Angus are not the same species, so I don't really know what's going on here.
Well, they're also, I don't know. It's all kind of fluid, I don't know. They don't care, I think, as much about that. Although,
also I think May's ex wasn't a cat. No wonder they broke up.
yeah.
So the premise is that you are a college dropout who's returning home, and you uncover over the course of the game sort of the reasons behind why she dropped out. At the same time, there's a mystery that's
A
happening in your
spooky
hometown.
mystery.
It is a spooky mystery.
Yes.
It's a really spooky mystery that's been happening in your hometown. You're also uncovering the secret behind that.
Yeah, I'd say it's a good Halloween game. I think I'd say they if there was a couple of like they had to move the game to this period of time, but like I think it would be a good Halloween game. It has that full aesthetic to it. It has actually Halloween things in it, and it's like a spooky mystery that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it does take place during the fall and
Yeah.
during what they call Longest Night, which is, I guess, their version of Halloween.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've done a lot of really neat things with it. And the other thing I want to mention about it that's really interesting is it's sort of in the tradition of Oxenfree and other games of its ilk. It's got really, really good dialogue.
Yeah.
It's exceptionally well written. It's very witty, very sparkling.
Mhm. It's funny. It's actually funny, and I find all the main characters very believable, and even some of the side characters are like people that after playing the game you're like, oh, I would like to hang out with them a little bit more because it's just they're like flawed in just little bit like itty bitty ways that just make them human, even though they're anthropomorphic animals. So that's quite a feat.
And the other thing I think it does that's really important is it's one of the few games I think treats small town life with any sort of nuance.
Yeah. It's also fun to just like sorry.
I was saying Life is Strange is also sort of like that.
Mhm.
Like typically, I don't know, I've grown up in cities my entire life, or the suburbs, and then living in urban cores my entire life. And, you know, the impression you get of small towns is that they're really backwards and regressive, and everybody there is uneducated and stupid. And that's obviously a false impression. It's obviously a very exaggerated impression.
Yeah.
And this is one of the few games that actually, you know, looks at small town life and says, well, no, maybe it's a little bit more complicated than that. There is some of that backwardsness, but you know, not everybody there is like that, and life is not necessarily the weird regressive hell that you've been led to believe it is.
Yeah,
living in a small town.
And there's some like good, like they present this little town in a way that's like you go through this town a couple of times during the game, like multiple times, and you kind of
too many times, one might argue, but we can get to that later.
Yeah, one just might, but I'd say the pro to your con, let's say, is that it kind of gets you in the mindset of like familiarity with these people that you're passing by, talking to them, seeing what new is there in their lives. You're gonna get familiar with the town, and you actually bond with the town. You like the little places you're you know coming through, and the little vignettes of people of you know that are talking about stuff, and you want like little windows into their lives, and it's all really fun. Like I think they capture this little like everybody knows themselves, you know, each other in this
everybody
town.
Knows everybody else, they've sort of heard of everybody else. It's a small enough town that you might not have met everybody, but you've heard of everybody, that sort of thing. Yeah,
it's very well captured, that I think.
Yeah, and they also, the other thing it does really well is that it's very good at depicting sort of a town that's in the middle of an economic downturn.
Yes.
And the effects, and how those effects ripple throughout the town, which is not something you see in a lot of games or a lot of fiction in general.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's got a bit of a different approach to your typical, you know, to use the pejorative term, walking simulator. Yes. In that it's telling a different kind of story with a different kind of tone, and it does put a lot of emphasis on routine.
Mm-hmm.
It's somewhat reminiscent of Sunset in that regard, although Sunset was an atrocious mess of a game that we don't have to get into right now.
Right.
But yeah, it's
now
definitely
the bad parts of it.
Oh, now the bad parts. So I do have to talk about the bad, because I'm going to admit I'm not actually a huge fan of this game.
Mhm.
It's not a bad game by any means. I think we have to get sort of past the mindset of this is a bad game, this is a good game.
Yeah.
This is a game that says an okay game.
Mhm.
It's got a lot of issues that I don't want to spoil the game, so I'm not going to talk about the narrative issues I think it has, but I do think it has a lot of mechanical issues. And
Okay, sorry, I'm just going to interject here. I think I'm not going to spoil anything. This is not a spoiler in any way. I'll just say I have some problems with the ending, pacing issues. Something doesn't click there too. Like, so that's all I'm gonna say. I'm just not.
there's
sold
something the something very important is glossed over.
Yeah, and
That's all I'll say.
yes, and I'm gonna say that I just didn't feel satisfied 100% with how everything shaked out. So,
Yeah, let me put it this way. You think that they would be more affected or transformed by the experience.
yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Yeah,
I just
and
noticed
that's-
one thing that changed, and that's it. So that's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna. This is
Yeah,
not a
let's
spoiler.
not, let's not spoil anything. So I think Science and I wouldn't say in full disagreement here, but for me, I got really, really tired of just walking through the same areas over and over and over again.
I liked it, but I see your point.
Yeah, it just to me, it just made me like by the end, I was just like, oh, let this game end.
Yeah. But the question is, did you now? The problem with this game is that they hide a lot of stuff, and I'm not quite sure if that's that's fun. You want to explore and see everything, but they don't guide you super well. Some of the stuff is kind of hidden, and I think exploring the town is a little bit more fun when you have all these little places that you discovered that you like go to every day and see how it how things
So
progress.
I did discover a lot of locations. I'm not sure I discovered everything, but I discovered quite a few hidden locations, and I kept returning to them.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you can't like teleport to them. You have to go through the same tedious sequence of jumps over and over and over again.
Yeah, the problem
to get to
with
them.
the problem with that is that there's this one sequence of two sequences of jumps on the telephone poles that you did once, so you could do it, and it's kind of boring to do again. So I don't know why they keep making you do that over and over again, because it's kind of daunting. It's not easy, but you proved you could do it. So that's kind of weird. That's not 100% what I equate with good design idea there.
Yeah,
think.
I almost feel, and we can debate this. I almost feel like it would have worked better as a visual novel than as a full-fledged adventure game.
Interesting.
And I just think the Western developers just have this aversion to visual novel, and you can still have choice visual novels and branching paths. And
I mean, you do
paths
write
that
your
loop
visual
around.
novels, so you would say that.
I mean, yeah, I am a huge Danganronpa fan.
I will agree with you, but I'm gonna say like the platforming elements of this game are not very important. I think those could be skipped, but there's some interaction with the game that I liked. Like there's like little like mini game-ish things, and those I would still keep in the game. And there's also this process of going through this town that I said that like before, like you kind of
it gives you the feel of the town very well.
Yeah. So that's a plus that I think would kind of disappear. But I see your point. I see your point.
Yeah. So that's Night in the Woods in a nutshell. I think. Let me put it this way: as much as I think this is an okay game, it's not a game that would be like, don't play. I think if this is something that appeals to you, just looking at the art style or the kind of themes it tackles, give it a try.
If you like charming story-based indie games, definitely give it a try. It could turn out to be your favorite game of the year, or it could turn out to be just an okay
lots of people
story.
who love this game.
Yeah, exactly.
And
so just try it.
It's not the kind of game where I'm resenting people's enjoyment of it.
Mm-hmm. I like it.
There are definitely games where
but...
I'm just like, stop talking about how much you like this game. It's terrible. This is the kind of game where I'm like, it didn't really work for me, but if you like it, I'm really happy for you.
Yeah, I liked it. I didn't love it, but I very much liked it. So, give it a try. Give it a shot.
Yeah, so that's the smaller games. Do we want to talk about Yakuza 0 or should we
I
move
wanted to hear a little bit about Yakuza 0.
on? It depends. Radio, are you good on time?
I actually have to duck out. You guys can keep going if though. Sorry.
How much time do you have? We could just go straight to the trivia challenge very quickly.
Yeah, maybe yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, maybe we'll loop back around to Yakuza 0 to finish this off. So let's do the trivia challenge. There's just 15 questions. It's really quick. This shouldn't take more than 10 minutes. So let's begin. Actually, before we begin, I'm just going to ask 15 questions. These will all be about games that were released this year or are set to release this year.
Ooh.
So I'm going to test your knowledge of how close you've been paying attention to game news.
Oh, this is going to be a catastrophe.
Sound good? All right, let's start. Question number 1. Actually, some of these are really hard and some of these are super easy.
Okay.
So I did not actually like try to do the difficulty well.
Okay.
First 15 questions. It was the first 15 questions that popped into my head.
Go ahead.
All right, so question number 1. Within 1,000 years, in what year does NieR Automata take place?
Yeah, I don't know.
20 XDX.
100,002.
No.
Okay.
Let me just give the answer.
Yes.
It takes place in 11,945 AD.
Man,
If you
so
said
close.
anything between like 10,945 and 12,945, you would have been good. All right. Question number 2.
Yeah.
What is the name of the new villainous alien race that you meet near the start of Mass Effect Andromeda?
The Kroon guy.
The Krogan?
No, the Kroon guy, right? I don't know. It's a new galaxy, but it's copy paste from the old galaxy. Give me a break. Radio,
the
do you
Krogan
know
aren't
the
evil.
answer?
They're just horny and sterile. Sorry, Radio, do you have an answer?
Fox.
Fox. No, the answer is the Ket.
Come on. I'll give it to Radio Cat because he provided a 3-letter answer. So
This is a 4-letter answer
Damn
because there are
it.
2 T's. Sorry.
Come on.
No points.
So close.
Okay, question number 3. This one's really easy. Which open world Western Rockstar franchise is set to get a sequel this fall?
Red Dead Redemption.
Red Dead Redemption 2.
Okay, yeah, Radio Cat was faster.
Yes.
Gotta hurry up, science. Okay, question number 4. We all know that Platonic Games is developing the upcoming 3D platformer Yooka-Laylee, but which company better known for the Worms franchise is publishing it?
Team 17.
Yes, science got that one.
Yeah.
1-1. Okay. Question number 5. Which of the following was not a Nintendo Switch launch title? 1-2 Switch, Snipperclips, ARMS, or Super Bomberman R?
Arms.
Arms.
Yeah, Radio Cat got it.
Yeah.
Okay,
He
question
has
number
a
6.
Switch, so that's
Yeah,
a handicap.
that's not
Come
a
on.
fair fight. I'm aware.
Okay, go on.
Question number 6. What is the name of the fictional Tokyo neighborhood in which half of Yakuza 0 takes place?
They did the Yamura-kuzen.
Kyoto.
Kyoto's not a neighborhood in Tokyo. It's an entirely different city. All right.
Neighborhood.
Okay, so what's the answer?
The answer is Kamurocho.
Okay.
All right. Question number 7. What is the name of Nioh's protagonist? Hint: he shares his name with a famous playwright and a saxophone-playing former president.
Edward
The white
Clinton.
guy
Sorry?
in Japan. The only white guy
Edward
in Japan.
Clinton.
Edward what?
Clinton.
Edward Clinton? You're playing this game, Radio. How do you not know?
I don't know.
Go with Mr. Guy Jean.
You're just like generic white guy.
Pretty
Yeah.
much. Yes, he is just generic white guy.
Yeah.
Edward Guy Jean. I'm gonna go with Edward.
Okay, his name is William.
Okay, William. Okay.
You know,
Okay.
William Shakespeare, William Jefferson Clinton.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I tried. Question number 8. Which studio developed Horizon Zero Dawn?
Yeah. Team 17.
That's why it's an 2D artillery game.
That's
Okay.
my answer to most questions. So I just, it was a good shot before.
Again, Radio, you've played this
I
game.
know. I know I can picture the logo in my head, but I don't
Okay, the
Dude,
answer is Guerrilla Games.
Oh, it's Guerrilla Games.
Oh, Garbage Ape.
Killzone guys made it.
Yeah. Oh, come on now. Don't bring that shit over here.
Don't bring
Leave the
Killzone
garbage
to you?
Paper, it
Okay.
belongs in the garbage.
Well, they actually did a good job with this one, so congrats to them finally
Yeah.
making a good game.
Yes, good job.
Question number 9. Fulbright, the developers of Gone Home, are releasing a new game in 2017, set aboard a space station. What's it called?
Tacoma.
Yes, that's true. Tacoma. Science got it. So now it's 2-2. Question number 10. What is the name of the cat mascot in the upcoming Persona 5?
The Morgana.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's true. Morgana. 3-2 for Science now. Science is taking the lead. Question number 11. Which high school murder mystery franchise with an evil bear mascot is releasing its third mainline entry in the West this fall?
Persona 5.
No.
Bear?
I don't know what you're talking
Does it
about,
ha-
man.
A murder mystery franchise with an evil bear mascot?
Oh, Danganronpa V3 something.
Yeah, that's true, but you already answered it incorrectly, so no points.
Oh. I like the Meowth answer for the previous one, though. I really like that.
Meowth.
Yeah, okay. let's
Meowth
go.
would be a great mascot for the Persona franchise, because
Yeah,
he
I think
actually
he would.
talks.
Yes.
He taught himself how to talk, unlike all the other stupid Pokemon.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that.
Don't
that's
forget
weird.
speak English. In which South American nation does Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands take place?
Colombia.
No.
Argentina.
I mean, Colombia was a good choice
Uruguay.
given the drugs. Does anything take place in Uruguay?
Brazil.
Wait, Rado, do you have an answer?
I said Colombia as well at the same time as him.
Okay. No, the answer is Bolivia.
Ah, shit. Nobody would say Bolivia. I would say Peru sooner than Bolivia. God
Well,
damn.
who says Uruguay before Bolivia?
I know. Because of the
Unless you're like a
Simpsons.
huge soccer fan.
When Homer says you are gay when he's reading Uruguay.
Oh yeah.
I really like
Yeah,
that.
because nobody's made that joke before.
I know.
Okay, which level 5 developed RPG, telling the story of King Evan Pettywhisker Tildrum's journey to reclaim his throne, is set to be released for PC and PS4 this year?
What the hell are you even talking about? King's Story? I don't
Say the
know.
name again?
King Evan Pettywhisker Tildrum.
What the? What?
I didn't come up with the name, man.
Radio Cast? I don't know. Just
Developed by level 5.
I don't.
That's a hint.
This is
It's,
insane.
uh,
Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, that RPG.
Fire Emblem.
Fire.
Yes, Fire Emblem.
No, it's Ni no Kuni 2.
Oh shit.
Okay.
Okay.
Ni no Kuni 2, Revenant Kingdom. All right. Question number 14.
Yeah.
Torment Tides of Numenera is the spiritual successor to which 1999 Black Isle developed RPG?
Planescape.
Radio got it first. So now you're tied at 3-3.
Oh,
This is the tiebreaker.
come on. I knew that because
Yeah, you talked about it
System
at
is
length.
rigged,
I've
man.
never heard of those games before today.
Okay, move on.
All right, last question before Radio has to go.
Yeah, and
Finally,
3-3.
which TT Games Minecraft clone finally emerged from Steam Early Access this year?
What?
Which TT Games Minecraft clone finally emerged from Steam Early Access this year?
Lego Dimension or Lego Worlds.
Yes, that's true. Radio wins 4-3.
God damn it.
Between you guys, you didn't even answer half the questions correctly. For listeners at home, if you answered more than half those questions correctly, you're smarter than Science and Radio combined.
Send your answers to avocadogamescast.wordpress.com and Merve will send you 3 free Steam games. That's the I think
That
that's
is a
the
guarantee. I will send you 3 free Steam games. That's not a guarantee. I can't be held legally liable for anything I say on this podcast.
$60 free Steam games. It has to be at least $60 game. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Merv. I bankrupted you.
Yeah, you bankrupted me. Like anybody who listens to this podcast.
No,
As if
yeah,
anybody's going to
that's
send in
true.
anything.
Now they
All
will.
right, so
Now-
that's the trivia challenge. Do we want to to extend this and talk about Yakuza 0, or should we end it right here? It's
Uh,
up to you guys.
I think I'm good. I guess. If you talked about Yakuza 0 before, then that's fine. I
We've
watched
talked
that
about
one.
Yakuza 0 before. Go listen to another podcast.
Yes, I will. I will go back to the previous podcast and listen to it again. I think I've listened to it, but I will repeat that process. Thank you.
Okay, so I guess that is our episode for today.
Oh, yeah.
If you'd like to keep up to date with the podcast, you can follow us on our website at avocadogamescast.wordpress.com. And if you'd like to go listen to previous episodes, and some of which we talked about Yakuza 0, you can. In fact, you can subscribe to us on iTunes. Just search for Avocado Gamescast. And
Rate and subscribe. Thank you.
yeah, so I guess 2 episodes ago, we talked about Yakuza 0. You can go check out that episode and listen to us blather on about punching people and eating takoyaki.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you guys for joining me today.
Thanks for having
this
us.
has been a fun,
Thank you.
This is a fun challenge. This is a fun episode. I've forgotten how to speak English. I'm sorry, guys. So I guess the evil twins are going to leave and the good people are going to come back for the next episode. Except for Windmill, because he's dead now.
Oh,
apparently.
darn it.
Yeah, I think he got stuck between dimensions. I don't know how you recover from that. Longer than you
I don't
think,
know.
Dad. Longer than you think.
Yeah, I guess this turned into an episode of Sleepy Hollow. I don't know. Anyway, good night, everyone.
Bye
See you next time.
Bye.